Welcome back to my channel. My name is Peyton Hawes. I'm an ex-Mormon content creator here on YouTube, and today I'm going to be recording episode 7 of my recap and review of the secret lives of Mormon wives. When I tell you that episode 7 is probably the most excited I was to watch the following episode. Like the cliffhanger on episode 6. If you're new here, if you didn't watch episodes 1 through 6, why are you jumping ahead? Go watch 1 through 6 and come back here. You should already know I was born and raised in the Mormon church and religion in California, actually. Then after I turned 18, moved to Utah, met my husband, Colin. We were engaged 4.5 weeks after we started dating, and then we were married 4.5 weeks after said engagement. So we met in person the very first week of January 2018, and then we were married in April 7th of 2018. So yeah, then we had our first baby the year after that, and our second baby the year after that, and then third pregnancy that ended in a miscarriage the year after that. Just kept getting pregnant. Then we left the church and, don't know if we want more kids. Love ours to death. Any other autism parents out there, it's challenging yet rewarding and interesting at the same time. Okay, this is not my life story. Let's just recap and review. All right, if you see me looking this direction, that's where I have my notes for the show. So I'm not over here just awkwardly, and you're like, what is she looking at? They're my notes, okay? So, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I've been calling it a docu-series. This is reality TV. This is not a docu-series about Mormonism whatsoever. It is reality TV about this mom talk group, and they happen to be Mormon. So, if you remember from the end of episode 6, they were all in Chippendale's waiting area. They weren't actually in Chippendale's, but they had just gotten there, and Dakota, Taylor's boyfriend / baby daddy, and Zach, which is Jen's husband, and they were both upset about them being at Chippendale's. And so they decided to leave. I'm pretty sure Michaela decided to leave too, based off of social media and other sources, as opposed to just the show alone. I'm assuming Michaela wasn't feeling well and decided also wanted to leave because of that. Apparently, Michaela suffers from a lot of health issues that the show kind of breezed over. So she didn't get a lot of screen time because a lot of times she wasn't as fully dressed up as the other girls and was dealing with a lot behind the scenes. And so, unfortunately, that can be just showbiz. Sometimes they're trying to captivate people with things that are entertaining, and sometimes those kind of things just aren't, and they can make people feel sad. However, I think that that's something where they could have won a lot more viewers, because a lot of people, especially women, deal with a significant amount of health issues that have unanswered concerns and problems. So anyway, kind of a bummer there. But yeah, so she ends up leaving as well. So Jen says that Zach is making her feel like she cheated on him or something. And he's saying that he can't trust her, and that it's just making her feel sad that he feels that way. And then the show just kind of clips into a bunch of the girls at Chippendales. They're dancing, watching the show. Demi gets pulled onto the stage, and the guy literally puts her hands on his butt, his bare butt. And literally my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe that they were showing it on the actual show, only because I wasn't expecting it to go that far on screen. I don't care. I don't have a problem seeing that stuff, but I could see people being really thrown off. Whoa, what are they doing? But I didn't care. It didn't bother me. My jaw was on the floor. It was juicy. It was spicy. I was here for it. I know my hubby wouldn't care if I went to a show like that and watched, a performance, but I don't know if he would particularly enjoy a man putting his junk in my face and throwing my hands on his butt. I think my husband would be like, no, please no. Okay, so some more spice goes down. Okay, so a couple of the girls are back at the house rental in Vegas, the ones that skipped the show. And Jen is saying she's scared because Zach sent her a text saying that he can't keep doing this anymore. He said, I'm done talking. She said that he's usually the type of person that likes to talk things out. So him saying those things is making her feel scared. Now, a bunch of the girls that did go to the show end up coming back to the house rental in Vegas, and they're all just like, whoop, whoop, like, this was so fun, yay, like coming in with high energy. And the other girls are just like sitting there hella depressed. And Jen starts telling them about what Zach has been texting, and Demi said that that is so gross and absolutely not okay to threaten marriage for someone who didn't even do anything, which was so confusing for me the entire time too, because I'm just sitting here like, it was a surprise. She literally got there and had no idea where they were going or what was happening. And when she found out and was able to like fully process what was going on, she texted Zach and she called Zach and had a conversation, and he's over here treating her like this. Meanwhile, he's got skeletons in his own closet. He's over here with his gambling issues literally only came with them so that he could gamble, and is sitting here getting upset with her for Jesse planning the event and surprising everybody. And she didn't even go inside. She communicated. So I don't know. I thought that was super weird. As much as Dakota is upset about Taylor having been in that situation too, Taylor was like, look, dude, I left. There's nothing left to say. Like, if you want to keep talking about it or complaining about it, blah, 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 zip it. I don't want to hear it. I left. End of conversation. It's over. Leave it alone. And I was like, yes, girl, more power to you. And I think like you kind of see two sides to Taylor throughout the show. You see her being confident like that and just telling it how it is and just like, you know, I don't give enough. And then there's a side to her that kind of like breaks down when she's with Dakota and she's able to like cry a lot more and be vulnerable and open up, which I think shows that she's comfortable to do that in front of him. As much as he's not my favorite person on the show and he gives me super weird, uncomfortable vibes, and I honestly feel like more stuff is probably going to come out at some point, and I'm going to be like, look, I saw it coming. I don't know what I see coming, but I see something coming from that guy. Anyway, I think it's great that Taylor has somebody that she feels comfortable to be vulnerable with, and I like that she is like staying firm on her decision to like hold off on marriage and to do what feels comfortable for her. Then the next morning comes and people are like, where's Jen? Where's Jen? And everyone's like, dude, so she left at like 2 a.m. Like, let me tell you what happened. And I guess Demi was with Jen the entire time. And so now everyone's gathering around in this like living room area and she's about to spill the tea. And Demi said Jen showed her the text messages. She read the entire text message thread that she was sitting there like on her phone, like falling asleep, texting him for hours on end. And Demi read all of them and said that Zach is the biggest narcissist and that he said he's done with her. He doesn't want to be married to her anymore. He doesn't love her anymore. He's threatening to take the kids and move to his mom's house, etc. He made her leave at 2 a.m. by herself in Vegas to meet him somewhere when she was actively falling asleep, sitting up, trying to text him. And he said he'd for sure be done, like if she didn't go meet him, or like I'm not going to talk to you unless you like come meet me here. So everyone's just starting to call each other, trying to figure out where Jen and Zach are. And the girls are aware of Zach's gambling addiction. Demi said that Zach's parents gave him a big chunk of money when he got into medical school, and it was just supposed to kind of help lighten that burden, and he blew right through it. Now, Macy is in a private interview, and she's talking about how Dakota is getting so mad at Taylor for the fact that they were backstage meeting the entertainers before the show. Macy thinks that when men get upset about stuff like that, that it shows a lot of insecurities. And I think that I agree, either that or trust issues. So for context, a bunch of the girls were backstage meeting the entertainers. It's a part of the package that Jesse paid for the girls' night and for Layla's birthday and all of that. So, but yeah, and Taylor wasn't even doing anything. She was just like there. Layla was the only one, at least that I noticed on camera, who was rubbing oil on all the guys like before the show. And like, obviously it's like a very sensual thing. Some of the girls were insanely uncomfortable, Jen being one of them. And Taylor was just there and was not rubbing oil on the guys or anything. She was just like a part of the group. She's not like alone with them. She didn't, anyway, all of this stuff. And Dakota's like, oh, well, I'm just hearing about this and you didn't tell me that. And she's just like, dude, I'm telling you now. But yeah, Macy's like, dude, if you care so much about this, it just shows how insecure you are, that you have a lot of insecurities. And I feel like I agree with that to a point, but I also think that you could feel that way if you have a lot of trust issues. I know Taylor and Dakota have had a lot of those, but I feel like they've been more so on Taylor's end. And I also know within the Mormon church and other religions, mind you, it's not just the Mormon church, that a lot of people believe that the man is the head of the household, that the woman should be a virgin, and that they are basically in charge of everything, and the girl has no life or personality whatsoever and cannot do anything except be a homemaker, which I'm not against anything in the homemaker realm because I love that. I would prefer to be at home hanging out with my kids, cooking for my family, doing the grocery shopping, letting my husband pay all the bills. Like it sounds like a great life. And I do a lot of those things. There's nothing wrong with it. But when the woman wants to participate in other things, I think that there's a certain type of man that just wants to have all of the control. But yeah, I definitely feel like that comes from a place of insecurity and conditioning in some ways. Oh yeah, so that's my next note actually. Jesse said that Zach is a very stereotypical Mormon husband who expects perfection from his wife, even though it's hypocritical because he makes mistakes too and he's dealing with his gambling and whatnot, even though Jen didn't actually make a mistake or do anything whatsoever. At this point, there's a brief conversation about Whitney, and everyone shares a little bit about their opinion with her. Most of them don't consider her to be a part of the group anymore or that she is a friend of theirs. Macy says that she hasn't given up on Whitney and that she still has a desire to have a friendship and hopes that things can like mend themselves and that like she does become a part of the group again. But they all agree that she needs to apologize for her actions and her behavior before they'll even consider allowing her to be a part of the group again. Then the cameras go to Whitney's house and Connor comes in being like, okay, I have tea about stuff that happened with Mom Talk in Vegas. Can I tell you about it? And she's just like, yeah, sure, let me know. So he gives her a quick rundown of the Vegas trip according to Jesse's husband, and even brings up stuff that Zach's been saying to Jen, including that he's threatening divorce and said that he'll move his stuff out of the house the next day. And Connor asks if Whitney thinks that he would actually do that. Like, do you think he would actually leave? And Whitney says, I don't know and I don't care. It's not my marriage. I could see where he's coming from because I don't think she's a good friend. And even Connor's face is just like, what? Because she doesn't say that in like a whole rundown sentence. She's like, I don't know and I don't care. And then she's like, it's not my marriage. And I can see where he's coming from because I don't think that she's a good friend. And I'm like, dude, what? What a bitch. What? Like, I've understood a lot about Whitney and her character and knew that like it wasn't super my vibe, but I know it's a type of Mormon and that there's still like a level of respect that I have for that. But Whitney is turning around and being a horrible friend to all of these people who have just been trying to like communicate and mend and all this stuff, and Whitney has been just talking behind people's backs and not communicating and mending and is running away, saying that unless she is chaste, they're not good friends. But she's not being a good friend to either of them regardless. Ugh, okay. This was like, I feel like the final straw that just made me completely have a full change of heart of the kind of person that Whitney is. And I obviously don't know her in person, but there's nothing that reality TV can do to twist those words or the situation. Like, that is just what happened. Those words came out of her mouth after Connor told her these things. And I'm like, dude, there's got to be a lot of acknowledging behavior and apologizing for me to have a change of heart about her, I feel like. And Whitney has like this side interview where she says that Macy is her only real friend in that group. She said nobody else has reached out to her and she doesn't care. She very obviously cares. Oh yeah, I said she very obviously cares. And mind you, she hasn't reached out to any of them. So she can't use that as a reason that they're a bad friend if she's also not reaching out. So kind of like I was already saying. Then Demi finally gets a text from Jen saying that they were up all night. It was the hardest conversation that her and Zach had ever had, but the things were good. So then Jesse has a side interview and it's like, Jen likes to say that Zach is very protective, but I prefer to use the word controlling. She also said that Zach is the exact type of person in the church that she hates, which I would agree. I absolutely 1000% agree. Zach is easily the worst type of person in the Mormon church, in my opinion. Well, let's say second worst, because there are people who use their positions of power in the church to harm children and other people, and that is worse. Even though Zach is harming other people in this situation, I still find it as like a runner-up because the number one is more of a physical harm. That's definitely the worst kind of person in the church. Then there's a runner-up, Zach. At this point, Dakota gets to the house and he comes in to apologize to Taylor, and Taylor starts crying, saying like, our issues are much deeper than this. And then Dakota starts getting defensive and is like, no, like, you basically loved bomb me in the beginning and things have just gotten worse. And Taylor disagrees and says that that was just her normal happy self with him. And when the trust issues came and pregnancy hormones, I'm sure it built up a wall for her. And Macy is starting to feel really guilty for the fact that she hasn't told Taylor about the what's it called? Sinner Sunday confession. She's like, I feel like as time goes on, it's just going to be harder and harder for Taylor to get the news. And especially if Dakota did cheat. And Michaela tells Macy that she should tell her tonight. So the girls go out to dinner and Taylor is sharing her concerns about Zach and how he's been treating Jen, especially considering he'd been out all night gambling, which is frowned upon in the church. And Jen literally showed up to a surprise and ultimately decided to leave. So she never did anything wrong. Not to say that if she'd gone inside that she would have had done anything wrong either, but still, I think that's up to perception and what people's beliefs are in their relationship. I think Jen more so just knew it would make Zach uncomfortable, which is why she ultimately decided to leave. But which I think there's a certain level of respect that you can have for your partner. There can be things with my husband that I maybe don't fully understand at a certain point, but out of respect and love for him, I will pivot myself in like a certain situation or scenario for him with that mutual respect and knowing that. But I will still also be open and communicate that like, I don't understand this. Like, if it weren't for you, I would have done this in this scenario, but I did this instead because I respect you and I love you. But I'm going to communicate those things because I'm not just going to adjust myself and who I am for him without question. So I will pivot and do things differently for my husband because I love and respect him. But if I disagree or don't understand, there's going to be a conversation about it and there's going to be trial and error because I'm not just going to do anything just because. And I know my husband doesn't want that either. At this point, a couple of the girls decide to go bar hopping. Taylor doesn't. She's pregnant and she's on probation. Macy goes with her. Michaela goes with her. And they actually feel like this is the perfect time to tell Taylor about the Sinner Sunday situation. So she tells her everything, and Taylor is, of course, worried about it. She's like, I knew this was going to happen. I knew, like, and now she's sitting there having to think about it and process it. And then Jen shows up to the group, and now everyone's back together. All the girls who are bar hopping come back. I don't even know how they bar hopped in that scenario. Like, it seemed like time moved so fast right there. And that's just reality TV sometimes. Like, there's so many cuts and edits. I'm like, hold on, what just happened? Anyway, everyone's back together. And Jen said that Zach supposedly felt really bad about how he handled the situation and how he spoke to her and apologized for everything. And Jessie starts talking again about how she believes Zach is a stereotypical Mormon husband. He's the dominant one. He calls all the shots and makes all the decisions. And she thinks that he would be perfectly happy if Jen followed his every move and didn't have a personality of her own, which I 1000% agree with. Like, I think so long as Zach got to call all the shots and Jen just pivoted everything for him, I think that would make him happy. I think he feels like that's the way that it's supposed to be. Maybe that's how he saw it with his parents. That is, I don't even think just a Mormon thing. I think I see that in like other religions as well, where the man makes all decisions and it's like, oh, he makes the money, he pays the bills, he makes the decisions. And it's like, no, we're all in this together. At this point, every single one of the girls in the group is trying to convince Jen of how horrible of a person Zach is. And that they're like, you've normalized this behavior and you're so used to it, but it's not normal to react that way for not having done jack shit. Like, and so I agree. And, Jen, of course, gets emotional about that and is like, I don't really know what to do. These girls are telling me this is not normal. This is not okay. Maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe I've normalized this behavior. And the episode kind of ends there. So, yeah, there was a lot to digest in that episode. For me, this was like one of the heaviest episodes of just stuff going on. I felt so awful for Jen this entire episode, and I just like wanted Zach to have more screen time, because I feel like if he had more screen time, you would be able to see more and more of like how he treats Jen and the kind of guy that he is. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to talk about these things and judge other people based off of a reality TV show, but there are times where people just say things that reality TV can't like bend or manipulate because they just came out of your mouth, or you just texted those things. Like, these are just factual things that happened. And it's really common for narcissists to do that kind of like love bombing, and then here's the control. I'm going to belittle you like so much. I'm going to bring you down so that you feel like you need me, and then I'm going to apologize for how I did it and promise to do better and love bomb you again, and then I'm going to start breaking you down again. And it's just like this constant process. No, narcissism is something that's very difficult to diagnose, and I am not going to just throw that word around lightly. I don't do that. I think he has some narcissistic tendencies, but I don't think there's enough information about him that where I can say that confidently. But yeah, it's kind of messed up. So if you like this video and you liked watching me like recap and review this stuff as an ex-Mormon, stay tuned for the future episodes. And I'm going to film episode 8. And then I'm also going to do like a whole recap of season 1 and my thoughts, and have it tie a lot more to Mormonism. My entire channel is about Mormon and ex-Mormon related topics, faith crisis, things like that. For the most part, I also talk about parenting related things and stuff like that. So make sure you subscribe so that you're here for future episodes and you can just hear me ramble and chat all the time. And I'm starting to see a lot more new faces around here, which I'm really excited about. And I feel so lucky So thank you guys so much. Leave a red heart in the comments if you made it all the way to the very, very end, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.